Welcome, everyone, to the Inspirational Businesswoman Show. I'm your host, Virginia Parsons, and it really is my passion to provide you with an amazing resource of tips, strategies, and advice to help you grow your business from inspirational businesswomen in the know. And I have just such a guest today. Her name is Hailey Rowe, and we're going to be talking about her business equation to double your sales without being pushy. And I know everyone is interested in that. Now, before we get started, I want to thank all of you for being here because I know your time is valuable. And I think you're going to get some great tips today and things that you can apply in your own business. But before we do get started, I'm going to play the preview trailer. And what we'd like for you to do during that time is to go ahead and help spread the word and let other people know who might benefit from this information on doubling your sales without feeling salesy. And as you do that, then we'll get started with the interview with Hailey in just a moment. All right, I think you can see we're in for a real treat today. As I said, I'm interviewing Hailey Rowe. She is a top Chicago-based coach who helps other coaches get clients consistently, develop no-brainer offers, and grow their income without social media overwhelm. Hailey has worked in the coaching industry and in business development and marketing for startups. Now, Hailey thinks that you can have an amazing service, but without a strong mindset and a clear sales and marketing plan, your business may just remain a hobby, and we don't want that for all of you. So today, Hailey will share some of her FAST, F-A-S-T, framework for building your business and doubling your sales in a way that feels good and flows naturally, so you don't have to wonder where your next client is coming from. So here are our main topics we're going to be discussing. Let me bring this part up. We'll be discussing the do's and don'ts of sales, number one. Number two, how to generate more sales opportunities. And number three, sales mindsets for avoiding being pushy. So Hailey, unmute yourself, come on in, say hi to our audience.
Hi, yes, I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for having me, Virginia.
Well, it is great to have you. You know, my passion is marketing, visibility marketing, helping get the word out so that, as you say, entrepreneurs don't have to struggle so much and they can really make a difference with what they love doing. So I love to get other people's input on this because I think the more ideas we get, then people will find, you know, the approach that resonates with them, that feels authentic for them. But my gosh, a big resistance for so many people is the sales part of it. It's like, you can't be in business without it, but so many people would rather, you know, sell someone else's stuff than their own because of that. I don't know, it's a psychological mindset, which you're going to get into today. Anyway, we're thrilled to have you here and be sharing your expertise and your experience with us.
Yeah.
So I think it would be great to start with a little bit of your background and maybe a defining moment in your life where you said, this is what I need to do. This is what my gift and passion is to other entrepreneurs and coaches. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my first coaching certification when I was 16, and I knew I wanted to do something with business one day. I wanted to do something with personal development, but I didn't know what I wanted that to look like. And I ended up getting my bachelor's in entrepreneurship and then working in business development and marketing for startups. And a lot of them were wellness-based startups. So I kind of got an interest in wellness and taking good self-care and all that good stuff. And I did that for a while. And then in 2017, one of the companies that I worked for let everybody go in one day because they had a bunch of delays and they were getting their machinery approved and it was just taking a long time. And so it was a real eye opener to me because I had thought after college that that was the safe route for me to get a job and to, really learn a lot, which I did. And it was a great experience of learning how a quick-paced startup looks and how you need to figure things out and learning marketing very quickly and all that good stuff. But at the same time, I had totally taken my business, which I did establish at that time, and I was kind of blogging and I was starting to get the word out. I totally put it on hold because I was working a lot at this startup. And my regret was, well, I mean, I got let go, which is like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And so here I was like, you know what? I might as well do what I wanted to do initially, which is start my own business. It's not quote unquote necessarily safer. I always thought having a job was safer. I was like, I've learned now that maybe that's not the case. And I might as well just get started. And my biggest thought that I was telling myself before I decided to start my own business was, I'm just not ready yet. I'm not ready. I can't do it. And I finally was like, no, I'm going to take the bet. I'm going to do it. And of course, there were bumps along the way. Of course, I had side jobs while I was building it up, but it took off. And I've been doing it ever since like 2017, 2018, all in. And it's been quite the journey. So,
Well, I just want to say congratulations for deciding that you're going to do what you're helping other people do.
yeah.
And even though you went through that feeling of insecurity, which any entrepreneur has to be a little bit brave to step into what for most people is a solopreneur approach, unless you're starting, a small startup business, something like that, where of course more people are involved. But for many of the people and many of my audience here, I really want to acknowledge that they're often working alone as a solopreneur. And that feels very lonely and a little bit scary and intimidating all at the same time. So for all of you who are viewing today, Hailey's going to have some great tips for you, and we would love to hear back from you. What I always suggest is put the hashtag gem in the comment section when you hear something that Hailey says to you that really struck a chord, that you want to take action on, that really may give you an insight into maybe your own approach to sales. So we do want to hear from you, and we appreciate your all being here. So Hailey, let's go ahead and get started with some of these great tips, because sales is just so imperative. If you're going to be a successful coach or a successful entrepreneur, someone's got to get this right. So you've got some do's and you've got some don'ts about sales. Let's hear some of those.
Definitely. So part of why we named the episode The Business Equation to Double Your Sales is because I wanted to share the equation with you and some of the common mistakes that people make in it. So this equation is the number of offers you make minus the no's equal your results. And where I see a lot of business owners going wrong is they're doing great things, meaning they're putting out good content. They have, their audience figured out, etc. But they're never actually mentioning their program. They're never actually talking about the benefits of it. They're not giving those calls to action. And so one of the biggest mistakes within this equation is you're not even making offers. So that's the first step. That's like the baby step. Let's even ask yourself, in the last month, how many offers to help people have I made? Have I even asked my newsletter list if they want to book a call with me? Have I even mentioned my program in my stories and how it can help people? Has there been a warm person who, I know has mentioned they're interested in working with me and I didn't get back to them or whatever, but let's start start there. And the second thing is, of course, how you make the offer matters, which we'll talk about later in this episode. And there's a right time and a wrong time to make offers. So like, you don't want to, as I have a framework I call my 4 basics of client attraction, which takes you through the steps. And I'll quickly go through that. And it's, you got to connect with your audience. So that's just showing up. So that's, you doing a podcast, or you connecting with people on LinkedIn, or whatever that looks like. And then you have to engage and get to know what their goals are, say hi, take an interest in your audience and what they want to need, and hear their feedback. Then you make a pre-offer, that's stage 3, which is something that's usually free of value and gives a quick win up front and invites somebody into your world, whether that's your free lead magnet or your free Facebook group or whatever. And then you go into the sales phase, which is, do you want to go deeper? Do you want it customized? Do you want to connect to a discovery call, or do you want to watch my webinar where, I talk about how we can work together, or whatever it is. But what happens is a lot of people don't have those 4 basics going at any time, or they have a very sporadic, all over the place way of connecting with people, that they're not following through on any particular marketing platform or strategy. They're just kind of dabbling in a bunch of them. Or their pre-offer isn't landing with their audience because they thought about what they thought was cool instead of what their audience has been telling them that they want and need. So these are some of the biggest mistakes I see when it comes to just the offers piece. And we could talk about learning from the no's too. But those are some don'ts that I see.
Okay, so let's pause. They're great. You guys, wasn't that a bundle of information right there? I mean, you really could. I call this a pack your bag moment. You could pick up and leave, but don't, because Hailey's got lots more to share with you, because that was very, very valuable information. Now, she broke it down into 4 basic components. She said connecting, showing up, and engaging with them, showing that you really care about them. You have an interest in them. And then you get into the pre-offer. You haven't even done an offer yet. You have been engaging. What I see or feel about this is it's really sort of an outline for authentic connection, for building an authentic relationship, which is what I would say most people are attracted to. They don't buy your stuff, do they, Hailey? They buy you. They buy the relationship, and then the stuff that they want to accomplish with you. So she's really given you what I would call a foundation of the house, or of building a great business, is really understanding the importance of giving energy to establishing a real connection. So I love that. I'm going to sort of piggyback on that and ask you, or assume that you have a system probably for your clients so they can keep track of this part of the process, because it's not a, one date and, we're into the sales. It is, well, sometimes it is, but in most instances, as you say, it's building a relationship. So do you have any tips on how people keep track of these 4 steps?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we do with my clients is we create a business protocol for them, which is basically like, every week, here's your basic things that are the key metrics to say, did you do it or did you not do it? And so, for example, if you have decided that one of your main ways of connecting with people is going to be doing guest talks, or like doing podcast interviews or something, maybe one of your weekly protocol basic things would be put together 3 podcast pitch a week and do 3 pitches a week. And then tracking that, what I typically do is every part of that process, you want to have like either a template for or a standard operating procedure. So for example, with the podcast pitching, you might have your own template that you adjust and personalize for each host. So you don't send the same canned response, but you do have a general, okay, well, first I say, something around this, then I introduce the topics I could talk about, then I have a call to action or whatever. So that's one thing. The other thing is keeping track of your leads. So, which I think is what you were asking too, is like, how do you keep track of all these relationships you're building? Part of, there's 2 answers to this. Part of it will be, where are you funneling everybody to? So deciding consciously that you're sending everyone to your Facebook group or you're sending everyone to your email lead magnet, that will be a good way to track like where everybody's going and where to keep track of them. So I use an email system, and that's my way of doing it. And that way I know they're going to get the follow-up emails and they're going to get nurturing newsletters and stuff like that. So that's one way. And then the other way, I'm kind of old-fashioned in this, because I think a big mistake I see is people creating these very elaborate tracking systems that they actually can't keep up with. Like they don't, if I had to go into my computer and log into a spreadsheet and be able to like put all these fancy things in there about my leads, I probably wouldn't do it consistently. So what I do is I just have a notes thing on my phone. Then, well, two things. I have an app called Goal Streaks, which is where I track, did I do this or not? And I track my consistency. And in there, there's a place to keep notes. And I put, you know, who I reached out to or anybody I need to remind myself to follow up with or send myself a calendar invite to do that. And I'll say which platform they were on, so I remember. And I put a little emoji by it so it stands out the ones I have to follow up with, which is not the what we call the you know, fancy way of doing this, but it helps me just keep in mind what my lowest hanging fruit is and who I need to be connecting with and reminding myself. And it's a lot easier than me having this like elaborate system.
Yeah, you don't need elaborate systems. You just need one that you can consistently use that keeps you on track so that you can really nurture those relationships. So that's interesting. You said it was called Gold Streaks app?
Goal streaks, like
Goal Streaks.
Yeah.
Goal Streaks will give you gold streaks.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so Goal Streaks app she uses, but yeah, there are all sorts of different CRMs out there that you can use to follow up with. But I do think that it is important when you're just starting to establish a relationship that you do have some kind of system set up. And of course, I agree with Hailey that the most important system you can have are nurturing email sequences that invite people to take various next steps with you. And most importantly, because it is the one asset you really control.
Yeah.
And that is your email list.
So true.
Yeah, so that's a great place to start. But yes, I also like the idea of what you were talking about as far as if you were wanting to get on more podcasts. And, you know, I get that a lot because, of course, people come and say, boy, I'd love to share some tips on your show. And, you know, those that really follow through the process that I need done in order to put the show together are the ones I end up loving to interview, because I know they're going to have valuable information. And I know what we can, you know, really basically bring out from the information that you have that's going to be a benefit to the viewers. So it is important, if you're going to do something like offer to be on a podcast, that you do make sure you've seen the show first. That's one of the keys. I always tell people, if you haven't watched my show yet, why are you sure that this is really the right vehicle for you? So that's my little tip as we're going forward.
You bring up a really good point actually in sales, which is you always want to make it as easy as possible for the other person. And you always want to know them before you do your sales pitch. So there's no, like, I think a lot of people, we've all seen this before, where we get a message or something on LinkedIn and it's like this long sales pitch before they even know us, before they even know if we're looking for this. It's not permission based. It's just this like long text that we're not going to read. So whenever you're going into the sales process, before that point, you want to know what the challenges of the person you're talking with are, what their goals are, what they've tried before, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for. And then your sales conversion rate is going to be so much higher than if you were just going in blind or just like guessing what they want and not even like making it based on what they're needing and what they've shared with you. That's just like really a little bit careless.
Oh, yeah, I think you bring a really incredible point there. And it is a don't, isn't it? And I get these solicitations, particularly off of LinkedIn all the time, where we've just connected and I don't, you know, I haven't had time to find out much about them. They've probably invited me and I've taken a quick look at their profile. But the next thing is, they want to offer me their stuff. and there's no relationship. So yeah, I would think that's a really big don't. It's not something I would ever want to do.
Yeah. And it's not a bad thing to ask a question to somebody like, hey, are you looking to blank before you go into, like, you don't go in a sales pitch then, but it is okay to ask questions that are inviting or that are maybe leading to your freebie. So I will say is ask intentional questions to learn about the person you're talking with. And then you can make an offer if they're like, yeah, I am looking for that. Well, okay, great. I have a free gift for you that's about blah, blah, blah. That's all good. But as you said, what they're doing is just going straight. They're skipping that step and going straight for it. And that's not usually good.
No. As a matter of fact, I think it repels rather than attracts. What you want to do is build an attraction. So great. Well, some good ideas there. Now, how about increasing and generating more sales opportunities? I think this sort of flows hand in hand. So I'll let you move into that aspect.
Definitely. So once you know what you're offering, you feel really confident about it, you know the benefits it provides, you want to ask yourself, why have you gotten no's in the past? If you want to generate more opportunities and more sales, we have to first learn, why are people not buying it right now? And so if you've been trying to sell this and each time somebody says XYZ objection, we need to now start preparing for those or addressing those or seeing if it's the wrong fit and you're attracting the wrong type of people and address that. So one exercise I would have people do if they've made offers before and it hasn't worked out is to really just say, hey, I would really love your feedback on this. I'm just curious, what would make this a no-brainer offer for you? Or what caused you to hesitate? I'm trying to improve my product or whatever, and learn from those no's, because a lot of times we just dismiss the no's and we feel defeated about them, but they're actually our best learning opportunities. So that's number one.
Sure.
Number two is to ask yourself first, before we go into, because everybody's all about like, oh, I got to get on TikTok or I got to get on the next shiny object. But I'm really big on, let's start, like, we see it as like an expanding circle. You start with the lowest hanging fruit first. So what opportunities are right in front of you right now where you could either serve or speak or add value or, do something with first that are warm leads before you go into newer opportunities, cold leads, et cetera. So one thing you could do is, if you've had past clients and customers, starting with your own referral program or affiliate program, or, hey, do you know, since you are a valued customer of ours, we would love to offer you the opportunity to get a, $50 discount if a friend of yours gets a product too, or whatever. But like, how can you think about providing incentive for your current customers who might already even be recommending you to amplify that? That's a really good thing to do. The other thing you could be doing is making sure that for the people who follow you on social media, like, as we know, the algorithms are hit or miss. Some days you're going viral, other days you feel like it's crickets. And so I use social media not just to post. I don't think that that's really what it's for. I use it to be social on social.
How about that?
Right. So I'm really big on like welcoming my followers when they follow me and being like, thank you for following me. Do you have any content requests, or is there something you want to learn from this page? And then I can learn more about them and actually tailor my offers and tailor my content to them. So I would say another big thing that you might be missing out on is when was the last time you really learned from your audience and then customize based on that?
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous idea. I'm thinking a little bit about, for instance, a Facebook business page. It's really hard to get any things seen that you post there. So if you were posting a question such as this of, what is it that you're looking for? What are some of the needs that you have? Would you be more apt to be doing that in a group that you have, or on your personal profile? Where would you be posting that?
That's a great question. So personal profiles and groups tend to get more views from your audience than your business page. Your business page is like, if you wanted to do ads, you kind of need to have that. And that's why it's there. So only like 2 to 6% of your total follower count or people will see your posts. So don't be afraid to ask it again. Don't be afraid to ask it in a different way. Do use like those colored backgrounds on Facebook. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's
Sure.
like the color. Those tend to stand out more. And if you wanted to, you could even just, if you like, let's say you have a Facebook group and maybe you have like a welcome post in the Facebook group, you can tag your new members and be like, welcome. I would love to know the answer to this, what's your biggest blah, 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 like put your question in the comments. So that's another way to do it.
Okay, well, I think that's a good idea because it's really valuable. What you're saying is so valuable in finding out what they're really looking for, finding out what their goals are, and finding out where they're tripping up or struggling, so that you can offer more information in that regard. So that's why I was really trying to dig a little deeper in how do we get the response from them? How do we get them to see it? Now, are you doing this also in email format? And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
are you getting response from people?
Yes, huge fan of email. I'm a huge fan of Dean Jackson's 9-word email. If anybody's ever heard of that, you should look it up
No.
if you haven't. It's asking a very short, simple question with like a simple subject line, and it gets a great response. I had a client who did it and she had a really small list when we first started working together. So it was not even that many people first. And she got like 13 responses out of like 30 people on her email list. So that can be a really good thing to do. And the other thing is with email is you can always have something where, like, what I like to do is give the freebie first and then do like a follow-up question the next day where you're saying like, do they want more? And essentially, but you're not saying it that way. You're saying like for example, a question I would ask, because I help people get clients, is I'm curious, are you looking to take on new clients? I might have some free resources if so. Like that's something that I might use.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Now, are you also suggesting that people do some of this kind of exploration through something like Messenger?
Yeah, it depends. So I think that, again, you always want to make it permission based, and you always want to pick a question too. This is something I forgot to mention. With any question you pick, you want to make sure it couldn't be perceived as offensive. So again, I work with some clients who are weight loss coaches. And so you don't want to like go to someone's profile and be like, hey, are you looking to lose weight? Because then it's like, well, are you assuming I need to lose weight or what?
Yeah.
But if somebody's been engaging with you, they're in your group or whatever, and you want to send a welcome message, I do think that's a good thing to do, and just to ask a simple question and know that statistically it might take 6 times or like 4 to 6 times before somebody like registers what you do and responds for touch points. So like, I think it was something like, I can't remember the exact stat, but it's like 60% of people when it comes to messaging need 4 touch points or like connection points with you before responding. So that would be like you probably following them or liking their photos or engaging with them in some way, so that they're just aware that you exist and maybe will respond to your message. So I'm all about like, you got to combine it with some rapport building. You got to keep it short. You got to ask questions. Don't make assumptions, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. Well, that's a lot to cover right there. Did we miss any other sales opportunities you wanted to share before we went on to the third topic?
Well, I think it is a good idea to talk about the third topic, because what stops a lot of people from even getting to the sale is their mindset in particular. So
absolutely. I just think that holds people back all the time, being intimidated and not having the confidence in what they're offering or the value of what they're offering. And I think that a potential client can feel that energetically. So yes, let's hear more about changing your mindset around sales. For
sure. So I would encourage everybody listening to this to write down your current thoughts about your offer, about you as a business owner, and about sales. And you might want to categorize those differently. But if you see sales as asking for money, or you see sales as talking about yourself, or you see sales as, trying to push my offer on people or convince people, these are things that I would not want to sell either if I saw sales that way. So already you're kind of rejecting yourself up front, and closing off sales opportunities because you're probably not going to want to do it, right? But
Right.
if you see your offer as like, this is the thing that can really help people solve XYZ problems, and I'm committed as a business owner and creator of this product, framework, or entity, and that is what I'm selling, and I know that it can be useful to people, you suddenly come at sales with like who wouldn't want this, right? And I think it's important to, instead of seeing it as asking for money, shift to, I'm delivering a service. This is a partnership, and I'm giving something back. So it's not like it's an exchange where you're just taking somebody's money, which is a really poor way to look at it.
Yeah.
And if you feel that way, you need to ask yourself, well, is it my product I don't feel good about? Like, do I feel like this product is not useful? Or is it that I have some older views on sales where I see it as just asking for money or whatever, and we have to work on that. So those would be a couple things. And then I think the other thing is going into sales, making it too much about you is another big problem. Like, we're not, when we're talking about your offer, you're not selling yourself. And so this is a great piece of news if you're somebody who takes things really personally, and you take rejection as like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough, I did something wrong, I'm a failure. It's nothing about you. It's about the framework, the product, the entity you've created outside of yourself that solves a problem. And it either wasn't the right fit, it wasn't, aligned with what they need. And so that is what I want everybody here to not make the sale about you, but make it about, it's my job to understand what this person is needing and wanting and see how I can deliver it, and take yourself out of it, because then you will fear rejection a lot less.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good tip. And yet there's got to be a balance, because I think that it's so important that they elevate their own self-esteem and the value of what they have put together. And that does relate to them as well, because as I said earlier, I truly believe that people invest in the person before they invest in the program. Yes, they invest in the outcome. And as long as you are going to frame it in a way that makes them feel super excited about the benefits that they're going to achieve, I think that that's key. But there's that other layer that I don't think we can dismiss either, that is around the person and how you present yourself. And that's part of mindset that you really have to work on if you have, for instance, if you're intimidated or you really haven't had a lot of experience in it. So can you give us a few tips around elevating your own expectation within the self?
Oh, that's good. So a couple things. One, if you are somebody who, like, of course you have a heart-based business probably. And so you are passionate about what you do, and you do want to bring that passion. And I'm all for that. But if you're using yourself against yourself is really what I'm trying to say we don't want to do. So if you love that you love your business, it's a mission-based business, bring as much of yourself into it as humanly possible, because you're using it in a way that's an upside. But if you're beating yourself up right now, it almost is like you have to put a little bit of separation between I'm my number one affiliate for my own business and my own program. And just like I would recommend a restaurant to somebody that I really love, I would recommend my own product to somebody I love, because I think it's great. So a couple tips to elevate your self-concept here when it comes to sales would be, number one, ask yourself, what is really true here? A lot of times you're probably saying something about yourself that's an opinion that you've gathered a lot of evidence for, and it's not a fact. So even though you feel like you're shy, I'll give you an example. I have a post that says being shy is super expensive, because if you think you're shy and you never want to share anything, and it's closing you off from opportunities. So looking at that, what could we say? What else is true? Well, I am getting more confident talking about my offer. Well, I do like talking about things I'm excited about, and my offer is one of them. I like talking to people one-on-one, so maybe I can use that in my sales process, do a private call instead of a webinar, so there's things you can ask yourself about, okay, I think I'm shy. I'm noticing that I'm labeling myself that way, but what else might be true? And then the other thing would be what am I not going to tolerate, and what am I going to kind of start bridging towards? So you might not go from, I think I'm shy, to I'm fabulous and I love, being visible online. That might not be the jump, but maybe there's a middle ground there somewhere. Maybe it's like I'm becoming more comfortable on camera, or I'm learning the skill of insert whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are good tips, because I think that that's one of the big hurdles that people who are particularly emerging entrepreneurs and coaches have to overcome. They've been trained in being a good coach, but they didn't get the sales background, did they? In most instances, you do not get the sales background. So they're having that combined with, I haven't done sales yet, or I've done very few, or I've been doing them all wrong, or I'm getting way too many no's, those aspects of it. So when you really think about how you can start to gradually move from, yes, I may be shy, but I am super excited about what I know about this particular topic that can really positively impact someone else's life. And that's what feels good about sharing it. And when you come from that perspective, I do believe that people will feel that emotional connection with you. And part of that often is because someone has experienced something that they know they can now bring to up-level somebody else's life or the struggles they have.
Yeah.
So super important information, and the value system of the person presenting the offer is it's just like you have to have that icing on the top of that cake, don't you? For it to really stand out.
Yeah. And I used to, I always tell this story. I used to sing in a wedding band every weekend, and now I sub for them, but I love singing. And I used to get really nervous about performing. And I noticed that what shifted me out of it was telling myself, well, these people are paying you to go there and be focused on the crowd and be focused on giving a good show and be focused on them and like having fun with it. And when I'm in my own head a ton about, oh, I'm shy, I don't want to be seen as weird, or I'm worried I won't sound good, or me, I'm not focused on what I was hired to and getting paid to do. So it was almost like I was being a little bit selfish, being in my own head, instead of being focused on how can I bring the best interaction with the crowd and like be here to have fun with them. So that really helped me like shift, because I used to get very nervous about anything attention wise on me. And so I don't know if that helps your audience, but try to find one of those shifts for yourself that helps you see it differently.
Yeah, I think that's powerful, what you just said there. And I'm here and I'm being paid to deliver, and it's about them and it's about their experience, and it's not about me. So yeah, great mental shift. And so we've hit mindset, we have hit more sales opportunities, we've hit the do's and the don'ts. I mean, there's just so much to do with sales that you've got to start putting energy and effort into it. And even though initially it doesn't feel comfortable because you just haven't been doing it, the most important thing I'm going to say, the big gem of all this, and there were multiple gems, I feel like I've got sparkles all over me, but the big gem is that people aren't making the offer, right? Mm-hmm. It goes right back to the very beginning. They may have the offer, but they're not getting it out there consistently. And this does relate to everything else that you've just talked about, the do's, the don'ts, more opportunities, and the mindset. And it probably starts with the foundational mindset that gets you excited to make that offer, or to expose that offer, to let people know that it even exists. So great tips. I really appreciate having you here today. Now, you do have a special gift. I want to bring that up just a moment and let everyone know about it. Here's where you can get it, everyone. All you do is go to shinetips.com/Hailey gift. Shinetips.com/Hailey gift, and tell them, Hailey, what you have waiting for them there.
Yes, I will. So this is my 30-day content roadmap. So it helps you come up with 30 content ideas that will be compelling to your ideal clients and have a call to action like we talked about today, where you're driving it to your next step or your pre-offer or your sales process. So if you've been somebody who hasn't been using your content strategically, this guide can help you do that. And it shows you how to balance, the different types of posts and get ideas.
Oh, that sounds great. 30 days of content, ideas for you, a roadmap to put it all together. Again, go to shinetips.com/Hailey gift. I want to thank you, Hailey, so much for being here. I see you got a little bright sunshine shining in on you.
I do. I'm
Looks
sorry about
great. No, so just let's sum it all up. Any kind of final major thought on this whole idea of doubling your sales without being pushy?
Yeah. Well, I would say in order to double your sales, I think you have to ask yourself what's keeping me from sales right now and write down some of the maybe mistakes we talked about in this episode or mindset blocks or common objections you're getting. And then one by one, those things can all be turned into either strategies, a mindset reframe, or some kind of solution. So just starting to go through that process, I think can be a good point for everybody.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you being here, taking the time. If you found this information valuable, the replay is also available. So just let people know. We want all of you to be successful in the business that you are passionate about and that you love. And you've just gotten some great tips today from Hailey. So Hailey, thanks again for being here and for all of you for taking the time. And we'll see you on the next Inspirational Businesswoman show. Bye-bye now.
Thanks so much for watching today. Do you know someone who would be a great guest for our show? Or would you like to be a guest on the Inspirational Businesswoman show? Let's shine the spotlight on your expertise. We'll share your story while offering tips, strategies, and advice to our viewers. Expert interviews are a great way to build your reputation as the go-to expert. Go to shinetips.com/IBWS to apply today. Women are waiting for your message, and I can't wait to interview you.